The Son of Solomon's Song as a Different Kind of David was released on December 24th, 2025. It was a weird project for me to put together. I had it in my notes. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and show you. This is my Nasty on the Beats little notebook folder. It's got my business card front and back on it. Bought this at a Dollar Tree, you know what I mean? And in it, you know, it's just got a list of notes in here. Most of the notes are just, you know, cunning, crafty titles. That can be titles of songs. It could be potential titles of albums. You know, it could be a bunch of different things. But I just make notes in here. And I've got different sections. And then I start kind of breaking the albums down. I got a sample pool here of things that that come up to my mind, of things that I want to sample potentially. And so I just write them down. If you look, this is page 1. If you can see, that's circled. Okay, you know what I mean? Kind of circle. And it says a different kind of David. So again, you can see, you know, 2 lines into getting this notebook, the title was there, a different kind of David. And so I knew I wanted to make an album or potentially have a song title using that song or what have you. So that's what I did. How it came together as an album, like what started the process, was right after I came off the feverish analysis of The Lascivious Pursuit of Cash Lee and The Prophet and the Prophecy, which were actually released together in September, early October, if I'm correct, of 2024. I went to house sit for my sister. Didn't know it. You know, I was just going to go visit family, and it turned into a house sitting deal. I just happened to be sitting at my sister's dinner table, and I was working on cover art. So I'm always designing cover art. And sometimes the art will inspire the album. You do something decorative and you go, man, that'd be cool. Let me make an album behind it. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's vice versa. Sometimes I have a project in mind, a beat that turns into an album. That's what the Feverish was. And then you put the cover art with it down the road. In fact, I've designed the cover art for the Feverish twice. You know what I mean? So the original cover is not what came out. But in this particular instance, I was sitting there and I was working on, I use a lot of my old photos, recent photos or whatever, and I kind of built cover art around it. Maybe it becomes the final art, maybe it doesn't, but it gives me something to work with, you know what I mean? And so that's what I was doing. I was working on some cover art for put a different kind of David down at the bottom, and then it was like, okay, I guess we're leaning into this now. So I started going through beats and listening, blah, 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 and starting to build a track listing of just beats, you know what I mean? And it kind of kicked off from there, you know what I mean? And then I started working on, you know, putting lyrics to it and conceptualizing and so forth, and what I actually want to build the project out to be. Why did I choose the name, The Son of Solomon's Song as a Different Kind of David? It's incorporating actually the sun in the sky, like light, which kind of, you know, obviously the sun carries a lot of weight in what it does to the earth and so forth. So the sun, or the light and glory of Solomon, so to speak, overarching reign, sung as a different kind of David, which ties their 2 reigns together, you know what I mean? But they both are necessary to the ministry of Yeshua and to my general operation. So that's how you get that. The sun, the light and glory, the son of Solomon, sung, that's just my way of saying expressed as a different kind of David. You know what I mean? So that's the title. The What Manner of Man is a skit that opens the album. And it's really 2 European, European 2 white guys that are engaged in a conversation. One is like a king of sorts, a land ruler of a particular area, or what have you. You almost get the approach, he's not really a king of sorts. He's almost like a self-made ruler, if you will. Somebody goes and takes over lands, doesn't really have the appeal, but has the military strategy in a lot of cases to go and invade places and so forth. So he's just one of those guys. Uh, and his name is Alaric. The other guy, Conrad, is like his henchman, his main military ruler, his general. You know what I mean? So he would be like a king of sorts. That would be like his general. And the discussion is, he's trying to expand his land, obviously. And Conrad is telling him, you can even call him General Conrad, but you get what I'm saying. Conrad is trying to tell him, look, I've been out here facing this guy. You see what I'm saying? And either there's something you're not telling us, or you're willfully setting us up to go out there and die. You know what I mean? And so that's what the discussion is about. He's trying to say, look, this guy, number one, he's not causing you any problems. You see what I'm saying? He's not causing you any problems. He's not causing me any problems. He ain't really fucking with us. He stays to himself. You see what I'm saying? That is until you decide you want to fuck with him. And that's what Conrad is trying to tell Alaric. Like, look, number one, we're already struggling. Like, you're losing hundreds of men every time we go out there. You know what I mean? And I've never seen anything like it. It's this one man. He doesn't have an army. It's this one man, and he is destroying us. You know what I mean? And that's what it is. And Alaric, obviously not being on the front lines or being involved in it at all, he wants what he wants. So he really doesn't give a shit, but he's bucking Conrad up to keep going out there. You know what I mean? So I'm telling you, with the right weaponry and the right strategy, we shall prevail. And Conrad said, I'm telling you, he cannot be stopped. A different kind of David, the track itself, it was one of the first beats made for the album, or at least regarded to go on the album. I knew when I heard it, before I even know it was going to be a David album. When I made that beat, there's a mystery to it. There's a doesn't have a hard snare. I'm actually using hi-hat or hi-hat for the snare to kind of carry the beat. I like the mysterious nature of the music, the repetitiveness of it. When I started to write it, they knew something was truly different about me. Through the mocking and the spitting and proceeding to doubt me. The nature of the song has everything to do with the scope of my ministry. So I've been in ministry, at least operationally, 2003, 4 arguably. I got filled with the Holy Spirit in October 2003. As you listen to the record, you hear me say that, people started to recognize that they couldn't control me. And just because we're in the same faith, quote unquote, and I was going to church, because I'm not really that active anymore. I'm active in the ministry God has given me. And when people figured out that they couldn't manipulate and control me, then it became a problem. When people can tell, I'm preaching now, so here's some wisdom for you. When you get to the point where you're willing to stand and test, you got to be able to test what it is you're doing. Don't go out there with your ego. I even had to use the word ego in the song. They weren't listening, show and deceived with the ego. The thieves weren't really willing to stay put. You know what I mean? When you're willing to stand, make your point, be true to it, test it. You gotta test it, because you don't want to fight for something that's wrong just to appease your ego. You want to make sure that you're right in what you're saying, blah blah blah, and accept what comes with that, which sometimes it's taking a loss of friends, a loss of financial opportunities, to hold your peace and your posture. You cannot be fucked with. When you do that, you cannot be fucked with. So what people do is, if they can take something from you, that's how they try to manipulate and control you. Well, we'll kick you out of the church, or we'll take this position from you, or we won't buy your book, or we'll blah, 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 or we'll turn people against you, and so forth. Now again, if you're a person who's only in it for the money, or you're only in it for the friends, or you're only in it for these different things, They've got to. It doesn't matter how much money you have. You are controlled by somebody. You might have a lot of money, so you might be able to do some things, but you are controlled by them. You could never, ever, ever truly stand in the posture God wants you to stand in if you hold to those things more than you do righteousness. So that's what I'm saying. Righteousness has to be the goal. Anyway, so the point of the track is making it known is I am who God has made me to be, and he sent me in here to the people, to the brethren even, to tell them what it is he's offering and help us all to grow. They kicked it back at me, but that's what gave me more power. As they kicked it back at me, I took theirs. You see what I'm saying? I preach on this, by the way. You know what I mean? They knew something was truly different about me through the mocking and the spitting and proceeding to doubt me and conspired to toss the weight of the world on my shoulders, but realized they couldn't lift that shit up without me. Imagine that. You're trying to take a boulder, and it's, whatever, something big, a big plank of concrete, and it's 50 of y'all to lift it up and try to drop it on me to crush me, and you can't even do it. The 50 of you, I'm just using a number, the 50 of you can't even do it. I'll come in and I'll lift it and I'll carry it. That's Christ, by the way. A lot of all of my, I'm speaking for him and the Holy Ghost. So it's, if you will, a trinity of expression in unitary form. You better preach that shit, priest, because that's God. A trinity of expressions or representation, a trinity of representations in a unified expression. So, by the way, that's what Yeshua is. Honking at the bird watchers. I gotta be honest, I wasn't sure it was gonna go on the album at first, beat-wise. You know what I mean? I was in Hoover, Alabama. So I pulled to this fitness place to get some sleep. And I don't know if it was that night. I really think it was the next morning. I was just kind of sitting there doing stuff on my phone before I got my day started. And I was playing the beats. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. And the words started coming. Decreed from many waters of the king that is flowing by the river of government everlasting. The bear market bully and fully naked, pulling out his dick to signify which vote he's never casting. And the idea came from people, Christian brethren of mine. I respect people's governmental, legal, civil rights, of voting. But Christians bragging about that shit when it's not really supposed to be our main governance bothers me. You know what I mean? And so that's what this song was about. It was basically saying, okay, y'all be doing y'all little voter stickers but I'm going to tell you from God's standpoint what I'm about. You know what I mean? And so that's what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about America as a country, in governance, in people's approach to it, things they try to do to make you to fit in line with their system, afraid of it, make it seem like it's a blessing to you, blah, blah, blah. And it's, it's one long verse. So half of it or a lot of it was written there in that parking lot, maybe the first half. The rest of it was written in Atlanta, outside of a Home Depot. I remember it at night. It was late at night, and I remember finishing it. Again, getting ready to go to sleep, parked at a Home Depot, and that's how that track was. So it was pretty much written in two locations. But that's what it's about. It's about challenging America's government and making it known I don't need you to govern me. So telling me to pick who's qualified to govern a God? I think not. On your white paper spills the ink spot. The black and righteous uncaught. Soon as you blink shot. The Chaldean captain, everything but trapped in. The scam that either candidate could still get slapped is sweat from the you know what I mean? It's aggressive, you know what I mean? In just one solid verse. And really proud of that track. Ooh, a land, rain, and Alkebulon. The beat was always destined to be on the album. It was in the original. So you can hear the international. but it was the last song written. Not all of it, but easily the second and third verses, or the second half of the second verse and the third verse. I had to put the beat on, you know what I mean? And throughout the middle of the night, it would just play. I put it on repeat. And then, got to get up to use the bathroom, 4 bars, you know what I mean? And kind of boom, boom. It's just the inspiration, you got to kind of pull away. The nature of the song, it actually incorporates somebody's name in the title, you know what I mean? And it was something that I had just dealt with that person, so to speak. I have quite a fondness for this individual. But anyway, in a bunch of different ways. And it made me think about how to tie Yeshua, the Lord Yeshua's love to the African people. And so God's love for the origin of civilization, which is Africa, which is Al-Kebulin, you know what I mean? And his destiny for them, and so forth, is everything, you know what I mean? It's everything. And so I use this as a way to express this towards this young lady, because that's the representation God gave me. The same adoration you have for her, I have for Al-Kebulin. You know what I mean? And by the way, it's represented on my shoulder. I don't know if you can see that. It's hard to see. I'll post a picture of it. I have my birthmark is the shape of Al-Kebulin, shape of Africa, but it's backwards, so it's backwards, so it only shows in the mirror. You know what I mean? You can still tell, but I mean it in the mirror. And I've known that for years. I've posted about it, and then I purposely put the shape of Israel as a tat on the other side, and it's backwards, so that as a reflection of Yeshua in the mirror, it shows back. So if you will, I'm his reflection. It's heavy shit what I do. You know what I mean? And then I got a tattoo on my left thigh, and because he has one on his right. You know what I mean? So anyway, I'm modeling his reflection. So I wanted to tie the Lord Yeshua's love, deep, deep love for the land of Al-Kebulin, the land, the people, the resources, the cultures, and all that. And you hear that in that whole track. You know what I mean? And I do it in a sexual representation and desire towards this particular young lady that I'm mentioning. You know what I mean? And so it opens up really talking about me and our initial, you know what I mean? What it would be like between two people when they first see each other or get reacquainted with each other. You know what I mean? So on first sight of the first night, she took notice. The black ruby had Nubian. It sounds like arms, but it's alms. I like that you can because I do have Nubian arms, but alms is charity, good works. The black ruby, that's me, had Nubian arms. So to understand swift running my hands at justice was a must. The proof was she knew me in songs. You know what I mean? So you can see, getting back to the David references, some of the things, some of David's feats and prayers and so forth are all mentioned in the Psalms. And so it goes on from there, you know what I mean? And it's talking about the rich sexual nature and desire between, for me, for this young lady. And then also the Lord Yeshua's desire to do these different things and his plans for the land of Al-Kebulin, you know what I mean? And not just the land, but also the people, the diaspora, and the resources, you know what I mean? So you hear different mention about oil and stuff. Man, and I gotta tell you, the whole album is dope. The whole album is deep. I get chills every time I listen to that song. Because, like I said, I'm very, very spiritually motivated by the Spirit of God when I write stuff. So I hate to say it's him taking over, because I believe he's involved anyway. But sometimes even I don't recognize the magnitude that a track is going to have. Never mind the people, on me. Now, I sit here and wrote this shit. And when I go back and listen, especially that track, when I go, damn. The nature of the ultimate compliment again, I build in spiritual mysteries that God gives me. And so I wanted to discuss what happens when you are in total alignment with the Spirit of God, such that, I'll go here, because I've talked about this before. The Trinity of the God, this is what actually brought it to me. The Trinity of the Godhead did not create the origin of heaven and earth with speech. If you read Genesis 1, it says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. It does not tell you how. It tells you the reformation, tells you what comes after the, because you see that it's covered with water, blah, blah, blah. Verse 2 on is other things have happened. You see what I'm saying? And you get into Isaiah 45, you see some stuff there. The rebellion of the angelic host. There's other places in Ezekiel talks about Lucifer. You know what I mean? That whole rebellion. So you know something occurred there. I do a lot of processing of mysteries and so forth. And one of them, I said, what happens when when you recognize that the Godhead, all through the Trinity of the Godhead is so in sync that they don't actually have to speak to one another to know what the other one wants. You see what I'm saying? So ultimately, if that's the case, if I don't have to tell you what I want because you want the same things that I want, this is good, Lord. You want the same thing that I want, then desire becomes not only the impetus, but also the expression of what comes out of it. You see what I'm saying? I don't have to say, okay, take the Trinity of Godhead. The Father does not have to say to the Word. The Word does not have to say to the Holy Spirit. They are in total unison. You know what I mean? Or you say, well, you see them talk to each other. Let us make man after our image, after our likeness. Yes, you see it. You see what I'm saying? You see it, but that's after. I'm talking about that's after rebellion has occurred. I can argue that what Satan did in his rebellion had something to do with speech, had something to do with breaking the protocol of what God had originally intended. I believe desire is what rules. God's desire and will is what rules heaven, and everybody is in every being is in tune with it. They were made for that purpose. You know what I mean? So that's how. So you see the deep stuff I get into. Okay, so now put it in the context of you and God. When you and God, when you have that relationship with God, where you bring everything to it, you know what I mean? So much so that there's an alignment there that's never broken. Then what's the next step? Everything I desire, I acquire. You know what I mean? You become a creature of habit. Creature of habit. Ooh. Taking everything in reach of unreachable length on some give me that sneak and a grab it. They can't tell if I'm a preacher or savage. Prophet, stop. I'm just a creature of habit. All right, so obviously, given the nature of the previous track, the interlude or what have you, interlude was based off the song Creature of Habit. Weighted on the scale, the first to 1,000, I double fist enlisted 500 apiece, which is really a ton split, sunlit, with the clouds in form 8. That's an infinity symbol. Form 8 for an all nations wonder increase. And the infinity symbol is really, if you can imagine, standing in the center point, but also for eternity. The angels gathered around, the righteous gathered around the Lord Yeshua, and me in that representation, because I'm going to be with him, me in that representation, for an all nations wonder increase. You know what I mean? And that's the increase over the eons or the ages, but also the increase of the wonder in the people and so forth. You know what I mean? And I just go on from there. I prefer a thick to a slimmer thigh. So you hear the sexual references in there. What happens when I finally take my royal throne and so forth. So I'm prophecy. I'm the prophet king. So I'm telling you where I'm headed. Now, marvel now or marvel later, but marvel you will. You will actually see it. Be like, And I'm talking about on the blessing side, the judgment side, and so forth. That's how that came out. Taking everything. I'm a creature of habit. I'm so in tune and stay in tune with the Spirit of God that I'm a creature of habit. You know, weeping at the cried grave. Well, just another interlude. I like the sample that I chose. It sounds like it's got like a violin that sounds like it's whimpering. You know what I mean? Or some type of string instrument. It sounds like it's whimpering. And so I just came up with the title, Weeping at the Cried Grave. You know what I mean? I just really like the up-tempo beat of it. You know what I mean? It was in the original beats that were made for the album. And so I just kind of added it to it. Like I said, as a producer, MC, I like to incorporate all of it. That's why I'm involved in the cover art. I'm involved in the... Killer had me to engineer my own sessions just as I got to go downstairs and work, so you're more than free to do what you do up here. And I'm glad he did that. Ever since that day, Killer has not engineered a session for me. And that's not a shot against him. It's just I realize I like to be in a space where I can be more detailed. I ain't got to worry about his time. Not in that sense, you know what I mean? And you know, he's very patient. It's just like I realize how detailed I am, and I want to do different things. And so when I'm in that space by myself and doing it myself, really appreciate how that track sounds just as leading up to the next song. Blaring Stereogamy. Blaring Stereogamy was in the first set of beats. It was part of the first set of the using the international samples and so forth. I don't know if I always knew it was going to be on the album, but I think I originally included it even when I was starting to map stuff out. And I could tell you exactly where I was at when I wrote. In fact, a few of the songs started right in the same parking space. I told you I live as a nomad, so as I travel, I got little places where and this was in Baton Rouge, right behind a coffee shop in this little shopping center. And I'm gonna tell you how it happened. This is this probably the inspiration for this song. Probably the inspiration for this song has the most unique story on the album, because this is how it happens. I have a separate phone, okay, a second phone that I don't use for calls. I really kind of use it for storage. I take pictures with an iPhone. I typically use an Android, which is what I'm recording on. But I have an iPhone that I do certain stuff on. You know, for storage, I take pictures. The Lord had me to get it, so I use it, and I use it for different things. And I started to shoot music videos on it. But at the time, and even now, I do what I call God casting. And it's me doing therapeutic power sessions of just talking things out, what I plan to do with my day. If you can imagine waking up and talking to your spouse, I talk to my phone and I record it. And I do a lot of mystery recordings. I talk about Bible references. A lot of ideas for albums come out of it. It's just me talking out, you know, what I plan on getting involved in and so forth. What's on my brain and all kinds of things get worked out. That particular morning, I'll never forget it. I got up and the Spirit of the Lord said, don't record. Don't. And you got to understand how frequent this is. This is so frequent that I typically don't get in my car without picking up my phone and starting to record. I just, like, a part of my day now. I'll talk everything out. Then I'll go and delete what I don't need. I'll listen to them, because a lot of times, you know, I'll take walks and do mysteries from there. Anyway, that particular day, he said, don't record. And it's such a part of my day. I bucked. It was like, so what am I going to do? Okay, so I didn't. But then I was like, man, I got to record. You know what I mean? So I went to grab it again. It's like, nah, let me be obedient to what the Lord said. And I just started playing. And I just started playing beats. You know, I got my flash drive and it has all my beats on it. So I was just listening to, and that one came up. And it was like, and I was on my way to Houston that day too. So it was like, and I'm brushing my teeth, I'm getting ready, I'm freshening up, you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden it just started to hit me. Say Cheese, the Craft Singles, the J Who, and it just started ripping. Oh shit. And I mean, it's just flooding. And I started, Started getting into the rhythm. I was already dealing with some things that God was putting on my heart regarding relationships and so forth. You know what I mean? That was totally new for me. And polygamy was one of them. It was the first time ever in life where polygamy as a reality of the kingdom. I don't believe it's for everybody. I don't think everybody can handle it. You know what I mean? But this is more of the judgment aspect of stepping into it. It's almost a calling out women who aren't submissive, and I don't mean in a negative way. I mean who aren't doing what the man needs them to do, who are resistant to being with him sexually, cutting him off, trying to control him by not giving him sex, whether it be in marriage or whatever. So that's what that song is talking about, and it's in your face. It's like, recognize from my standpoint in God, you won't do that shit to me. You see what I'm saying? It's calling women to now again, not every man can do this because not every man is submitted to God. So you can't put a demand on something. You can't put a demand on righteousness if you're not walking in it. You know what I mean? You can't tell women to be doing X, Y, and Z. But my standpoint is, are you seeking the Spirit of the Lord or not? So, and it goes on. Say cheese to craft singles. The Jehu of say who interacts and mingles. It's basically saying, I'm finna get in there and control relationships. Who can have who and blah, blah, blah about the Spirit of the Lord. The Jehu was a military general who a prophet came and made king for a specific purpose. Say the Jehu of say who interacts and mingles. The mission of dissing Baal to chip bags of Pringles. The kiss and tail of Jezebel, cat, tats, and jingles. So you see the Jehu. Jehu was the king who killed Jezebel, had Jezebel killed. Because of his military posture, he understood what it took. And so I go on from there. So it's like me saying, this king is coming to kill that Jezebel controlling spirit. Division well, one and no wonder, Marco Polo aim. See, it's like saying whatever woman responds, Marco Polo aim. Which is really no aim, Marco Polo. So Marco Polo aim, sharks in waters of plenty daughters and photo fame. Picture this, in a mixture of a snow globe, you know what a snow globe, you shake it up, of a snow globe and fixture elixir to resurrect collective, that's polygamy, collective as a solo game, to target the new brand of marketing. You see the ads and multiplies, even where the vulture flies when it tries the culture to invoke a stroke of lies. In cap, we capitalize flies and put it on a poster, winging it and stringing up the caramel and chocolate, this, if you will, the Hispanic, the community and the black, and stringing up the caramel and chocolate popcorn. A hot storm in kettle where the metal was not warm. Settling the measure of the veterans when it costs. We emboss the losses for better wins. A cute couple is a set of twins to eat up, to meet up, rubbernecking to shit fun. The cards where the queens are in the hand of a king. It's like throwing out 2 dice expecting to hit 1. You get it, if you throw out 2 dice, the smallest number you can get is 2. You know what I mean? So throwing out 2 dice expecting to hit 1. Whether straight bullet or big gun, the bullseye to fool's lie, telling them to swell in their hearts. That's saying women who are trying to control their man by not giving him what he needs. Now again, I'm talking about a man who's actually taking care of his woman or women. You know what I mean? Who's doing what she needs and so forth in the sight of God. Not just what she wants. Whether straight bullet or big gun, the bullseye, the fool's lie, telling them to swell in their hearts. When against the wind, that's like going against the Spirit of God. When against the wind, propelling in parts of a plain Jane, bidding on the melanin odds to be rain claimed. It's like a king coming in and swooping in. By some fella with a Cinderella umbrella, seller with a smooth like groove that could run Stella. Fourth with a fifth, because Stella got her groove back, so I'm gonna run her fourth. Fourth with a fifth of the nip and a new trip and fall, making nude autumn want to get up too. The risk of a bid up flew with the birds who think mere words can alter a flight. That means you think you talking is gonna keep me from leaving. Who think mere words can alter a flight with no salve and no solve in her sight. That means you're not even trying to see clearly what God is trying to show you about how to treat the man and so forth. With no salve and no solve in her sight, then I'm guessing the nest to a bird chest is taller in height will measure. Because if a one-eyed pirate can find treasure with just a hook, a black patch, and a wooden leg, surely the two-eyed kind can align pleasure with a thigh showing, even knowing that he shouldn't beg. And it goes on from there. I don't want to but you get what I'm saying. Like, I was very, and I didn't expect that song to be on the album because it wasn't a concept at first. I love women, okay? And I believe women need to be nurtured, but women do not need to be running men. Men need to know how to be led by the Spirit of God to take care of their women. But women have to understand the Spirit of the Lord determines what you get from a man who's really seeking the Lord. I got a whole new way of looking at relationships by the Spirit of the Lord. I don't expect for people to believe me, but I know most people ain't finna go ask him anyway. So that's how you get it. Blaring stereogamy. All right, Divine Brother Color Shift. Now this is gonna sound really crazy to you. Written or began to be written in the same parking space as Blaring stereogamy. Same trip, different day, and it was written before. And it was one of the beats that was not original to the plan. You know what I mean? I told you I started out with the international samples. They had a certain sound to them. And then I went to Houston and some new ones came out. And I'm gonna tell you with at least 3 that were made in that beat session. And that's Creature of Habit, Divine Brother Color Shift, and A Chance to Witness the Force. And so Divine Brother Color Shift, I really liked boom with the the snare kind of alternating, not being on every fourth, just like on the 2 and the 4. Real up tempo feel, almost gives you a carnival feel to it. And what inspired me to write that first line? For the sake of the Mako location, who gave me the thinner to paint the city of Red Rod. Red Rod is Baton Rouge. I've dealt with a lot in Baton Rouge, okay? I've dealt with a lot in Baton Rouge. And relationship-wise, there's a particular young lady who still, who I still love and so forth, but some of the stuff we went through, me going through it with her increased my blackness. And you say, well, how so? Because the spiritual things that I go through with God is always developing something, even if I don't know what it is. There's a financial aspect to it. There's a sexual aspect to it. There's a peace and general enjoyment aspect to it, a musical aspect to it, blah, blah. Whenever you're plugged into God, more blessings come. And the best blessings are inward, you know what I mean? And they can materialize, obviously. I'm not demeaning, but they start somewhere. If you have money but you don't know what to do with it, that's one blessing, but you want to be able to, okay. So, but I would have never gotten to this point in my blackness, in my, and again, there was appreciation there already, but this enhanced it. You know what I mean? And so that's where that came from. And I just happened to use Mako because I know Mako since for the sake of the Mako location, who gave me the thinner to paint the city of Red Rod. Paint thinner typically, helps the white paint off or thin it down or whatever. But it's not used as actual paint, if you will. But I look at thinner from this aspect of things that you thought would break me down, or if you will, break me down, used to break me down, or the situation that led to me being broken down, because it's, she has a part of it, but she's not all of it. It actually enhanced my artistic expression, my blackness, and so forth. So it's kind of an alternative there. For the sake of the Mako location, who gave me the thinner to paint the city of Red Rod, I'll hold nameless the dame who chooses not to be famous, the natural reaction to the black that she fed God. And though I brush, I refuse to be rushed. So you see that brush, be rushed. I refuse to be rushed, blah, blah, blah. And it goes on from there. And so from my blackness, I'm encouraging black righteousness. I'm encouraging other black men and how I operate to look at me as an example. And so the chorus is shift your mind to deny fear, brothers. Though this is not do as I do. I'm not making you do what I do. Lift your eyes to a line here, brother, so you can find true divine you. That's a choice, you know what I mean? But here's an example of how I think, how I operate. And the second verse gets aggressive, kicking ass and blah, blah, blah. And it's basically talking about know and win. You know what I mean? I'm not nonviolent. I'm nonviolent preferred. The truth is heard, blah, blah, blah. So you get 3 verses of me expressing different aspects of what I believe black divinity, black righteousness, what the black man should be, how we should operate, so forth. You know what I mean? And in the last verse, I actually get deep into, I'm telling you this because Yeshua is black. I know people call him Jesus. Again, I grew up believing in Jesus and believing in the name. I'm still a Christian. I believe in him, the Son of God. Number one, I didn't originally know he was black. Nor did it matter to me at the time. I want my sins forgiven regardless of your color. If you're purple, can you forgive my sins and give me peace, blah, blah, blah. So people have to come to that reality. But he has... The name Jesus waters down his ethnicity. And it's just the reality people have got to face. And then people try to say, well, he's an ethnic Jew. I heard a preacher say that. And God bless that preacher. You're looking at what you think ethnic Jews look like now. You got 2,000 years worth of fighting over the land, entering the land, leaving the land, warring over the land, who's who, blah, blah, blah. Listen. And if you know anything about God, you know God goes back to the origin. Okay, so, and genetics are you know, the dominant gene is the melaninated black body. Okay, now to the degree of it, I don't know, but he is a black man. That being said, and I actually say that because Yeshua is a coffee hue as dark as a brew, with proof fed in the truth that they're not willing to seek, you know, or something like that. It basically says it at the end. I'm telling you this because black righteousness will cover the world, or righteousness from a black man will cover the, you know, however you look at it. America opposes it in every way. That's why America is going to get wiped off the face of the earth. It'll be, like I said, I can argue America would be one of the only nations, might be more, but I can argue America would be the only nation that won't go into the millennial kingdom as America. The name, the heritage, all of that will be wiped off. Alrighty. The chance to witness. Man, oh man, oh man. Again, I said that already. It's one of the beats that was made in Houston that wasn't original to the original, you know, to the original beats that I had for the album. And same parking space in Baton Rouge where it was inspired. I like the carnival feel it has to it. It sounds like you can hear that played in a food court, probably at an amusement park or at a fair or at a, you know what I mean? Read on my resume, she know I'm ready, cool. That's a line from my favorite hip-hop song of all time is Juice, Know the Ledge by Eric B. and Rakim. To me, it's the most complete representation of what I like about hip-hop. When I started writing this track, reading my resume, she know I'm ready, cool, I might have had the chorus in mind. The thrill may flail your wig off. And yes, there's always risk, miss. I'm a force some only thought exists. And what I'm offering you is a chance to witness. I wanted to make a song where I talk about being with me sexually is like a roller coaster ride. You know what I mean? And everything that comes with that, the amusement, the, you know, there's a measurement or some type of guide. You got to be this tall or this blah, blah, blah. So I say you must be black and beautiful to ride the nasty. You know what I mean? Step right up. I had fun recording. It's probably the one I had the most fun recording.
Step right up. All the beautiful black queens. You must be black and beautiful to ride the nasty. Ride the force. And so I wanted to talk about sex being a lasting, memorable experience for the women who get with me. You know what I mean? Where they see it as a roller coaster ride. And I get in there and get very bold with it. If you're scared, then say you're scared. Say you're scared. And there's a waiting area for what, you know what's interesting about that? I said there's a waiting area for scared women to land in. So it's almost like, I'm not talking about the tragedy of throwing somebody off a roller coaster, but if you understand the disdain, okay, if you scared and get the fuck off, you know what I mean? And it's not like, not scared from down there, you scared from up here. So throw your ass, you know what I mean? If you're scared, then say you're scared. Say, and there's a waiting area for scared women to land in. You know what I mean? Open face, anyway. Chief reason is often a misunderstanding. For example, scene outside the apartment. Again, I'm in this character of quote unquote, in this character, very sexual. You hear that with the serious pursuit of Cash Lee. He's very sexual in nature. He does different things with it, but I'm making this a roller coaster ride. The thrill may flail your wig off. And yes, there's always risk, miss. I'm a force some only thought exists. What I'm offering you, there's a chance to witness. So I want to keep the theme consistent throughout the track. You know what I mean? It talks about the young lady at the end. You know, she wanted to visit again. When I was a kid, my dad used to take us to a bunch of amusement parks. We did most of the Six Flags in the United States of America. We've hit most of them. So I've hit a lot of the amusement parks. And, you know, you used to be able to go one day and then buy for just a couple of $1 or $2. You could buy what they call a twicket, and you can come back the next day for, you know, and there's that way of getting that bonus, their bonus money off of it. So, anyway, so that's why I said she'll visit again. You know what I mean? Really enjoy. Like I said, it's my favorite song that I recorded, or the one I had the most fun recording. The nature of it is a lot of laughing. You can hear it. It's a lot of laughing at the end. Just step right up. Step right up. Never tiptoe through the temple. Another interlude track. There's not much to say about it. I like the way that it sounds. It actually sounds like tiptoe to me. You know what I mean? I make a lot of beats, and when I'm inspired by something or I hear a sample, even if it's something that I know I'm not gonna rap on, whether I know it then or after listening to it, I just don't feel the vibe, I'll go ahead and you know, do what I do with it. And then if I put it on an album as an interlude or what have you, as you see with this one, that's what I'll do. And so I thought it really fit. And given the nature of David Solomon, I made the title Never Tiptoe Through the Temple. That's a boldness thing too. It's like I don't have to, the temple of God, who he is in his presence, I don't have to tiptoe. Come boldly before the throne of grace that you may obtain mercy and grace to help time of need. You know what I mean? And so that's that representation there. Mr. Universe. Okay, the young lady who's represented in A Land, Rain, and a Cabulin is also part of the inspiration for Mr. Universe. But there's more than one woman in there. The interesting thing about this song, it was written in the same city as I started honking at the bird watchers at that fitness place, only I went to another gym. So the place where I parked and slept is not my gym. It just, I knew they were 24 hours. I knew I could go to sleep, get some rest, not be bothered. Then I went to my gym about 1.5 miles away, and I'm supposed to be in there working out, and I was, but Mr. Universe was taking over. It just started coming to me. You know what I mean? I had already had the Mike Tyson reference. Somebody had blindfolded, I saw a video of somebody blindfolded Mike Tyson
and throwing darts and hitting the bullseye, or relatively close, you know what I mean? And so I use that, the Mike Tyson throwing darts at the fold, fold of sheep or at the fold blind. So instead of saying blindfolded, I say the Mike Tyson throwing darts at the fold blind. That's another, when you're led by the Spirit of God, you don't have to look and you'll still hit the target. You know what I mean? So that's what that is. And it goes on from there. But I remember I was in the gym supposed to be working out, and I couldn't get, you know what I mean? I'm engulfed in getting this. It was just coming to me, you know what I mean? What I really wanted it to be and what it turned out to be was, just like I said, this person represents for me the Alkebulan. At one time I said something to her about the universe. She was doing so much, you know what I mean? So I call her the universe dominator. She just business-wise, she was doing a whole lot of stuff. So I call her the universe dominator. And then I tried to take it back personally. You know what I mean? I'm trying to be the universe dominator anyway. So that's what inspired the title, Mr. Universe. It's like saying, okay, if she's the universe, typically a man is above a woman. And that's how God set the order. So if she's the universe dominator, then I'm Mr. Universe. You know what I mean? It's interesting because Scott Summers, Cyclops, he couldn't really, and Wolverine couldn't either. They couldn't really get Jean Grey, her powers. That's how she turned into the Phoenix? Is that what her character turned into? They couldn't really get a grip on her power. Neither could Professor X. Neither could, you know what I mean? Like, nobody could really help guide her. And so her powers ultimately, at least, in the movies I've seen, got the best of her. She tried her best to really, boy, that speaks volumes. Who holds the curtain of all that exists and the lids that emits from his fists? It's Mr. Universe. The contents of the elements melts in his hands. I'm going to tell you what I write from. I told you I represent the Lord Yeshua and the Holy Spirit. So what you hear come out of me is their representation, and they're doing it through me. Imagine having all of the elements at your disposal. And you do what you want with them. You know what I mean? God created the elements. So that's how I write from that standpoint. All things celestial. And then I incorporated that into sex, you know what I mean, and interweave them together. So as dominant and strategic and awesome, and you know what I mean, that sex is, then now you go over here to the universe itself and the interweavings. I set that in the context of bomb sex. You landed on, you know what I mean? So I like taking two concepts that seem to not be related and relate them together. It's a unique way of looking at things, you know what I mean? Who holds the curtain of all that exists and the lit that emits from his fist? So it's like light proceeding out of my hands. It's Mr. Universe. The contents of the elements melts in his hands according to his belts and demands. Now, who holds the scroll of all that exists and the lit that emits from his fist? I gotta say this in here. My budget for recording right now is, I live a different life right now. I'm literally living a nomad life, but on a lower income thing. So I do things to get my money, blah, blah, blah. Got a few little businesses and jobs that I do, but I'm so focused on the music right now. So, or else I would have paid DV alias Christ to have him sing it. I've been listening to him since I was in college. So you're talking about 18, 19, 20. You're talking 25 years. He has one of the best deep singing voices in hip hop. He's got an awesome voice, even in the way he raps and so forth. And so I wasn't trying to sound like him, just to sound like him, but I knew that type of singing was necessary. Deep, almost like what is the guy who sung Mr. Grinch? You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. DV Christ is the black version of that. You know what I mean? And he's smooth with it. You know what I mean? So without trying to necessarily bite him, because I don't have like a deep voice. I had to record that in the morning. My voice is that when I first get up, my voice is deeper. I had to record that. Who holds the curtain of all that exists and the lips that emits from his fist? He would have been perfect for it, but I had to do the best I could. And I like how I sound. I can sing, you know what I mean? Layered my vocals and so forth. Now, who holds the scroll? But definitely inspired by him. I needed that sound. You know what I mean? You know, it had to be deep like that. I couldn't see it singing it any other way. So shout out to DB Alias Christ. I also like yeah. The music. I like how the beat sounds. It's got a mystery to it. No. Yeah. No. It's catchy. Yeah. War Drunk on Milk. One of the earlier beats, it might have even gotten made before the rest of the David beats. Because I didn't know what I was going to do with it. It didn't have that international, it didn't have the international sound that I was going for with it. So, probably one of the hardest songs on the album. Very, you know, a lot of the records on the album are very aggressive. But I wanted to, obviously, I talk about sex. It's probably the song that really talks about sex as a weapon. You know what I mean? As a judgment. I'm taking the women. War Drunk on Milk. It's talking about breasts. You see what I'm saying? I'm taking the woman's milk. If I'm correct, it got started in Montgomery, Alabama. I was on it, and I saw things. There's some different things I saw out there. The name of the beat is Drunk on Milk. So I just called the song War Drunk on Milk. So it shows you how God will inspire me with a beat title and I don't even know it's coming from him, and all of a sudden it'll turn into the song. I stopped in Montgomery at a there's a park in a you know, very urban neighborhood. But it's got a lot of history with me. You know what I mean? I used to stop there and shoot around in my traveling through there. And I saw some different things, some cake crumbs. I saw I think a milk bottle. It was like a couple of things that, and again, I'm preparing for this record or whatever. The general album, you know what I mean? And I was out there and I think I might have been playing that. And it made me think about Foremost Milk is a company. Foremost Milk. God first and foremost. Oh, you see what I'm saying? And then it just starts coming. I'm hardly sympathetic. Oh, and then then I was in Douglasville and I wrote more of it. And that's what it is. It's me being aggressive, letting you know, oh, if you're in wrong with the Lord right now, like you fucking with people, and you ain't got, you know what I mean? And you haven't repented. Sex is and you got a woman. Whether it be me or somebody else, watch how God deals with you. So, but from my aspect of it, very sexual, war-driven. It's taking the spoils as women. I actually say that. You know what I mean? God first and foremost. I'm hardly sympathetic with the feathers at the end of a duck's zit. That's a duck's ass. You know what I mean? You know, ducks are typically, gentle animals for the most part. I'm hardly sympathetic with duck feathers. You know what I mean? Hardly sympathetic with the feathers at the end of a duck's zit. So trying to get peace from the war host, I'll let you find another unsanctified somebody to fuck with. That's basically saying when I'm in war mode, trying to talk me out of it. You see what I'm saying? When I'm sitting on an assignment by the Lord to go and take some shit down, you may want to unsanctify another unsanctified. Sanctified means set apart for God's usage. You know what I mean? Set apart. Unsanctified would be they're not set apart. I know what I'm doing in the Lord. You might want to go find somebody who don't know what the fuck they do. Another unsanctified somebody to fuck with. My combat fits. It's funny, I just made a beat called my combat fits. And it's probably gonna have that sample in it. My combat fits with the bomb that's lit. That means it's ready to go. To the hardcore, I'm far more explosive than they are. Whether visible or hidden, I'm on that shit. Nothing escapes the intuitive waveguide of my radar. I'm more strategic when I'm randomly fanning. Was otherwise a straight shot, forcing a run plan. Scored the Legion when they handed me cannon. Now, cannon can be a war weapon, large war weapon, or the cannon of scripture. I'm actually using it for that. scored the Legion when they handed me candy. I blasted on the approaching regime as one man. That's people trying to teach the Bible to me, and they're not running that shit through the Spirit of the Lord, who I'm reading and seeking at the same time. You know, blasted on the approaching regime as one man. So instead of focused on woke and sleep patterns, I just hope that they understand I align fully with 3 brandies and a candy corn fetish to tell them my main shuck is the production and rhyme bully. So art is artillery. You actually hear that in my art album. I got a song called Art is Artillery. So I'm, you know, all of it kind of feeds off of each other. I've said this before, the 3 brandies reference was right before I got to Montgomery to start, you know, to shoot around, blah, 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 on my way to Atlanta. I was in New Orleans, and we had a homecoming, events and so forth. And it was, I was drunk as shit that day too, man. Somebody had some rum punch out there that was the bomb. But I was lit, baby. Enjoying myself, you know, I keep my composure. I go and sit my ass down, but I was lit. That was probably the best lit I'd had in a while too. Anyway. So, but there were 3 young ladies named Brandy that I went to school with. You know what I mean? So that's why I said that. With 3 brandies and a candy corn fetish. I just threw that in there. I align fully with 3 brandies and a candy corn fetish to tell them my main shuck is the production and rhyme bully. Art is artillery, so killer be killed on the canvas. Pay the wages of my musical staff off campus. To read between the lines when I redefine what it means to flee a dog's wrath advances. I'm smooth in maneuvering, ravishing the women as spoil. Sweat leaving sex funk on silk. This is Operation Bullying everyone. Beyond me taking your baby bottles, getting drunk on me. I'm saying that's the light end of it. You know what I mean? Went from ranting of a boss calling. Let's talk about, you know, if you're not in right posture with the Lord, you can talk shit now. You can have all the money in the world. You won't be able to do shit against what I'm coming for. You know, went from ranting of a boss calling to panting in a lost brawling. Milk this cow. The best way we know how to use Capadonna, and there's a Capadonna reference. Sample, Method Man, and A Butter from Natural Elements. Keep pouring, keep pouring. That was on the Lyricist Lounge album. So anyway, you see how I come at it. You know what I mean? In the second verse, so what's after the bottles but me right in your face? So you won't be needing the night vision goggles. I came to slay right in the daylight and lock myself in prison with a set of 6 Dominican models. Who's afraid? I'm able to. It's like I'll lock myself up. Who's afraid? I'm able to break the bars. So catch us on the floor in the shape of a menorah and breastfeeding. Pick up on that. I just said 6 Dominican models. So 3 on one side, 3 on the other, me in the middle. That's how a candlestick menorah looks. You know what I mean? And then keeping them with the Yeshua, the David, Hebrew. This is the cold ass lyrics I be spitting here. I'm going through this one because I like some of the stuff that's in it. Catch us on the floor in the shape of a menorah and breastfeeding. So that's like not a 5-some, not a 6-some, that's a 7-some. Me and 6 women. And breastfeeding, leading with a label to shake the stars to the earth. Now that's a reference against the fallen angelic host. So it's like my sexuality, y'all don't understand what I do here, but anyway, my sexuality and what I do in the Lord, judgment-wise and so forth, one day all the fallen angelic hosts will have to materialize forever. They'll never be able to get out of go back into the immaterial world. That's the biblical study, spiritual study. And I challenge the fallen angelic hosts, all of them. They fucking hate my guts right now too. Because they're behind these bullshit ass governments and so forth to preserve themselves. So that's really a judgment against men and the fallen angels. So that's what I'm talking about. Creed to lay a siege to the region of unseen, mashed and accelerated, fixed to the brakes, bitch, which makes it known it's the season to come clean. Lemon squeeze and squeegee if that's what it takes. Honor the black general pack, the cherish of the cherubim, Elohim, rep, boiler with boil. Kind of thing. I skipped a line in there. Who's afraid I'm able to break the catch on the floor? Breastfeeding, leading with a label to shake the stars to the earth. There it is. And leaving some swelling and bruised, the rest bleeding. Why do I say that? Because they won't be able to die. They just came out of the spirit world. They will be shaken. Y'all don't understand what I study. You get what I'm saying? They will be shaken into the natural world, they will never be able to die. When you read in Revelation, it talks about they will chase death and can't find it. That's why. Death is an escape from the material pains of this world. You know, things you got to deal with in this sinful world. They won't be able, they just came out of the, you see what I'm saying? They just came out of the unseen world. They're permanently confined to dirt suits, earth bodies, and they can never get out. That's why I said leaving some swelling and bruised, the rest bleeding. This is an eternal. Can you imagine getting your ass kicked forever and you can't die? See, death is an escape. To live is Christ, to die is gain. Death is an escape. You know what I mean? There's only so much punishment the body can take, and then you know, in whatever way, suffocation or bleeding out or what have you. Imagine you cannot die. Priest, all this is in this record. I told you I am the prophetic Emcee. I am the Kingdom of God preacher. Now, you know, I'm wearing a thrift store shirt and a dingy shorts. So people don't. That's why I keep telling people to go ask God. I'm doing the exact same thing Yeshua was doing in the sense of presentation. If you don't believe me, at least go ask him. You know what I mean? Because I can't change who I am. I won't change who I am. You know what I mean? And I'm not finna deny it because you got a chip on your shoulder. Especially the Christians. You claim to know the Lord, go ask him. Anyway. So, yeah, that's what that is. More drunk on milk. So I'm challenging humanity. Oh, don't worry. God got a plan for the woman you don't want. For your woman, you better go make sure you're in with the Lord. Because when judgment comes, you won't get spared because you feel. All right, I got my little list here. Remember this. A bird shitted on my church shoes. Man, oh man, oh man. I do remember when I made that beat. I remember when I made that beat. I said it about, because it was made, if I'm correct, was it made on the same day as A Different Kind of David? I think they were made on the same day or relatively close. If I'm correct, of the album, it was the first lyrics written. Before I knew what it was gonna be, there was gonna be an album. Making that beat, devils never recognize devils. You know what I mean? And I went from there. Red horns and mirrors don't blend for blurring out reflections. To them, the truth is never worth pursuing. If you glued it inside of their eyelids, them fools still wouldn't find it. Rebels elevate to fine levels, defined and divine elevations with Ella scatting and hella innovations. That's artistic expression. That's why I put that there. You know what I mean? You know, I'm such a artistic guy. God has walked me into that. I never saw really being this. You know, even though I've always been an artist of sorts, he's making it my life, just enjoyment and experience. Man, I can't begin to tell you how much I'm enjoying my life right now. So when I was writing that, obviously you see by the title, A Bird Shitted on My Church Shoes. And that's really talking about people challenging my faith. You know what I mean? And they don't understand what God has given me in the judgment sense. By the way, what God has given me is not exclusive to me. It's exclusive to me because people don't want to deal with it. But a lot of people put off his power. I don't do the speaking in tongues thing. And that's where he's put, and I'm talking about the mysteries. Like, you got to really actually, not just the speaking in tongues, but the putting other stuff down to find the truth. Am I wrong on this, Lord? How do I go about that? You have to separate from your ego. You see what I'm saying? If man and woman, if men and women, I don't care who they are, can separate from the ego, put it aside, all kinds of shit will be at their disposal, but they can't get past the ego. They got to try to show up this person. They got to, you know, see what I'm saying? I don't have to prove to people who I am in God. You will witness it one day, and you'll be pissed when you have to witness it. Many people will be. Because I told them. And then I told them to go ask God. Don't rely on my testimony alone. Go ask him, because I'm not going to pull this back. Nor am I called to because you don't like it. You have to go to the Lord Yeshua. You have to be led by the Spirit of God. You have to do things his way. You get what I'm saying? So anyway, a bird shitted on my church. He was basically saying, you shitted on my faith. You have no idea what I have, what I'm capable of, and so forth. But that's on you. You know what I mean? I've tried and tried and tried. I came out of Christianity. I'm a Christian who came out of Christianity. I'm 100% kingdom focused. I don't deal with the church like that. I love the people in them. I still listen to good sermons and so forth. And I'm not opposed to sitting in a church. I don't do church anymore. Everything that a person hands me is running right through the counsel of the Spirit. And if you can't handle it because you got a set of rules, I love you, not my problem. So that's what the song is about. And that was my morning meditation with a stirred passion. Just because a friendly bird passing has shitted on my church shoes. You see what I'm saying? And notice I said friendly bird. These are people who act like they really have your best interest in God, won't ask God a fucking thing. And it's the worst form of hatred. Talk about gatekeepers. You're out there trying to preach to people about a Lord you don't want to fucking talk to. Baby, when I tell you his judgment gonna be so crisp. You know what I mean? People are fucking around. And I be trying to tell these preachers, laymen, whatever, listen, you gotta get your shit together. Pumping the Ashes, the best dance of David. That's the last song on the album. It's interesting because it's probably the most up-tempo track on the album, and the nature of the song is there's a young lady who is in my life. I say it that way. She passed away back in 2020, April of 2020. I didn't realize it until January 1st, like New Year's Day in 2021 is when I found out. So I was 8 months, you know what I mean, where I didn't know. Long story short, God has really pressed some things about her into my life, the prophetic connection over a period of since 2005, you know what I mean, and our interactions and prophetically what they symbolize and things that have gone on since then. And so I quote unquote, and I'll say it this way, memorialize her in a lot of things. She's very near and dear to my heart. So what I did was I wrote a song about us dancing together, with me on this side, her on the other side, and our interactions as a dance. So that's what that is, you know what I mean? So that's why you should hear in there I say, fuck. However it lands, I'm a man that's cutthroat. Fuck going luck. Hold up, Ashley, dip, woo. A quick spin, then I'm pulling her close. Then we're cheek to cheek, and a look in her eyes. It's a chance for me and my solo slaughter, getting off on the dance that Saul's daughter despises. So that's what it's talking about. Is basically saying how she's a big encouragement to me. Our interactions together spiritually is like a dance. How I treat her, like, treat her as though she's alive on this side. And the meaning of my, my royal Davidic, if you will, Solomonic dynasty, rule, royalty, etc., and all that's, all that's incorporated into that one long verse. And I decided to make it the last song because, you have to understand who she was to me, who she is to me, and what God has developed in that. And so, when listening to the beat, it was one of the original beats. When listening to it, I was like, yeah, I could work with that. And that, what a great way to go out, you know what I mean? From the start, I was looking for a partner when none showed. The sun kissed, orange ash was willing. My color for her is orange. It's just some stuff I remember about her with the color orange. So, from the start, I was looking for a partner when none showed. The sun-kissed orange ash was willing. It turns out she was ripping the burn out of the gun smoke to prep the hearts Agent Cash was stealing, and past the feeling of letting soul be the HR, a music staff with arrested new clefs. If not right, I must be the grand of the South Paw, cutting with razor shoes, stepping with two lefts. I'm too deaf, even when commanded from here. If you're sitting scared, then you should be standing in fear, or kneeling if you've been on concealing. The fan at the Grammys, I'm the only God man of the year. So there could be more lords to enter the floor with a pitcher and a rich drip that's sent to the poor. If you want to say a monster influenced the monster, blame it on the boogie in advance. Let's dance, whiskey tango, foxtrot in a hot spot. Wi-Fi or wide defy when the locks got broken open to a cell. The veil of American hell, swell, comparison tells embarrassment is a fair that they're choosing to join. And my two-headed coin, I will brashly flip. And however it lands, I'm a man that's cutthroat, fuck going luck. Hold up, Ashley, dip, woo. A quick spin, I'm pulling her close and we're cheek to cheek. Then a look in her eyes, it's a chance for me and my solo slaughter, getting off on the dance the Saul's daughter despises. Ark back in the camp is the reason they can't shade the lamp of the season. Winter went into a summertime, quickly tripped from past dealings of tramp and a treason. I'm up from burning in the heat of a spurn to the spawn of eternity that's frame by frame. I'm a combo of Solomon and David. I played the music, sung the song, and rain danced at the same time. And then I end my album with, I'm ending my recording right now. And then you hear me hit the table. The reason why I do that is because I told you I do my Godcast recordings, and I open them up with, well, it's my joyous way of saying, what's next? Well, and I'll start talking blah, blah, blah. And then typically when I'm ending, even partially through it, like just cutting off for the moment, I'll say, I'm pausing my recording right now. And so because the album is very, very personal to my prophetic life, my daily life, my joy life, everything that I do in the Lord as a person, artistically and so forth, I wanted it to be as authentic of what my life is like. So I ended it with something that I do all the time. I'm ending my recording right now. And I slapped the table, you know what I mean? So it was a fun album to make. It was my first full length, and it was certainly a step up process-wise from when I did The Feverish and The Prophet and the Prophecy. I was a lot more seasoned, a lot more focused and detailed, knew a lot more what I wanted. Again, like I said, I'm indebted to Lyric Kill for laying the foundation and then being so accommodating and so forth. There was supposed to be some features on it. The features that didn't make it, it wasn't their fault. The dialogue was supposed to be on the album, and Lyric Kill was too. And specifically the dialogue for one of the songs, he sent his vocals, you know what I mean? And I just, where I was at, it was supposed to have Lyric Kill on it, and I didn't quite organize that. And so it was a couple of things that did get left off. I do plan on doing a follow-up to this album, but that's God willing, because I'm always working on stuff, and ideas come up, and then, things get pushed aside and moved around and so forth. But it was an absolute joy, and as I listen to it, it still grows on me. I went so quickly into working on the Congress album that I'm still processing the David album from a listener standpoint. So I'm trying to slow down right now while I'm still working and really, really listen and process and enjoy and continue to promote the project for what it is. Because it's a deep record, you know what I mean? It's a deep album through and through. The Son of Solomon, sung as a different kind of David. It is only available on Bandcamp. And you can get to it through my website, www.NastyOnTheBeats.com. Again, I'm grateful to everybody who was a part of the process in some fashion, from the features, trying to be a part of the project, to the critiques. Like I send stuff to people and get them to listen to it and things of that nature. To those who were an encouragement, the conversations that often get inspired into some of the rhymes. I couldn't be happier as a producer and an MC for where my life is at and what I'm doing. Certainly grateful to the people who are a part of my journey. You know what I mean? And some will come along later and have to go retro for a lot of the records that I've put out. This is being recorded from here in Austin, Texas. I came out here to vibe out. I didn't really know what all was going to take place, but I recorded one music video and doing this track for track. And really enjoying my time out here. So that's what it is. Track for track, baby.